Hello and welcome to another edition of our Discover Love Academy. We're so excited to add so many wonderful experts in our second quarter. And what's really exciting is to be able to learn from experts basically quarter after quarter continually, because that's how you start building a real foundation in learning tips from somebody that you're really inspired by, you're intrigued by, you're curious about. So we are ready to get going on so many more learning opportunities for you. I am Jacqueline Nichols, founder and creator of Discover Love Academy. I'm a professional matchmaker at Discover Love Matches, and I've brought together an incredible world of experts that are eager and ready to support all of our incredible members at every single stage of their love journey, relationship process. And I am very eager and it's super anticipation going on here to tell you about Leah. So Leah, would you jump on and introduce yourself? And we're going to have an amazing class. We have so many great topics to talk about.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose. I have been a life coach in Oracle all my life. I've been a life coach since 1994, and I enjoy a lot of opportunities that I have with my clients to really get to what their authentic purpose is. And for me, that's how we become in alignment with what we're trying to do in our lives. And so that kind of runs the whole gamut, everything from life and business and relationship. And I'm really excited to be here because I know that having an alignment with who you are allows you to have better relationships with your loved ones and your friends and your family and even your coworkers. So I'm really excited that Jacqueline has brought me on to share some tips with you today. And one of the things that I enjoy most about my life right now is that I do live with an oracle on my shoulder, which means that I get lots of divine downloads. And when we talked about this topic, there was a lot to be said from the oracle about what it takes to really have an authentic relationship and how you can show up to be authentic in that relationship. So I'm excited to share some of those insights and guidance from her. And also some tips. I have been married for 18 years and with my husband for 23. So we've been together for a very long time. I like to call that a very strong and healthy relationship. So I do know of what I speak in regards to creating a relationship that's based on authenticity and really showing up as who you fully are. So thanks for having me. I'm excited to share.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love what you're sharing. And we had actually met, I think it was last week, and being that we're both super spiritual, it was that moment of, okay, really tap into what your message is for our audience. And you took a few days and really dug in. And that's what I love with that vibration, when you're definitely connecting with what your audience of knowledge is, but also with what my audience needs to hear. So combining all of that is really, really powerful. And I love this topic. I was just getting goosebumps as I'm reading it because I was thinking how many times people are so misled. So the topic is really about having 5 signs that you can understand to know when you're not being authentic in a relationship. And this is so incredibly important because when people are dating, and all my years of matchmaking, there's always this kind of initial layer when people aren't real. But I can tell you that how many times I've heard from people saying, I was just me when I showed up for the date. And it's like, well, you think it's natural, but it doesn't always make it natural. And so when we learn what is happening when we're contradicting ourselves, it's important to become really aware of that. I guess that's the part where people are so used to kind of putting on a presence and then it backfires later. So I love how your first comment is, number 1, you're not being authentic when you never disagree. So dive into that one.
My gosh, such a great one. I have to say that the oracle pointed that one out to me. I was like, never disagree. Oh my gosh. First of all, just think about being with a regular friend, right? If you really care about this person, you would definitely speak up when you have a disagreement. There's a level of trust that comes from disagreeing that says it's okay to have disagreement, it's okay to voice your own opinion, and that your opinion matters. So who would want to start a relationship off where they, stifle their own opinion in an effort to try to win someone over? I mean,
Right.
if your goal is to be with this person for long term, or even for a short term, how uncomfortable would it be to always have to swallow your own words? And that's really what she showed me. The oracle showed me somebody
Mm-hmm.
literally swallowing their words, and I'm like, oh yeah, you
Ouch.
you you have to feel like the person
Yeah.
you are and the opinions you have matter to the other person, and you
Well,
don't have to have the same.
that's great.
You don't have to have the same agreement. Excuse me, you don't have to have the same opinions
Yeah.
and to be in relationship. I think that's the key. Like there there is a beauty in being able to have direct and conscientious disagreement about ideas and concepts of life. It doesn't mean that you're, of course, juxtaposed, but it does mean that if you look at something a little differently, you should be able to then have that conversation clearly with the person you're trying to have a relationship with. If you can't,
Right.
it's the idea that you show up as like the yes man or the yes woman. It's never going to last. Like you can't, how long can you really do that before you physically are affected by it, like with stress or it's going to cause a wedge no matter what.
Right.
So the sooner you get over the idea that you have to agree with everything the other person says, or that you can never disagree, more importantly, with what they've said, and it can start with something as simple as like, liking a certain team,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, yay, and you're like, oh, it's like the Packers are like a really big team, and there's another team I can't think of. Oh, so the Niners and the Raiders, that's a great example. You'll see places where like, those people are living in the same house. Well, fine,
Right.
like who you like. But if you don't and you aren't really aligned with something and you're trying to just appease someone, then you're not being authentic.
Yes. And I really love that you're bringing this up in just like the number one thing, because that is the piece that I've seen. Like I recently had somebody send me a message, an old friend that I hadn't really been in touch with, and they were trying to get more attention and time with me. And then they sent kind of just a stupid comment on something that I had posted. And I said, well, great, you don't have to watch it. And, I was fine. And they were so thrown off by my response that I go, oh, well, now you're not talking to me. And it's like, okay, so what's the value of having things if the other person can't respond with, great, then don't watch it, don't enjoy it, don't participate. So often we forget that every comment isn't made for us to agree with and choose and claim. Sometimes it's, hey, guess what? They have an independent thought. They want to do it themselves.
Right? Oh my gosh.
So important. Because there's
It
nothing
is.
like being with somebody who's always agreeing, because then they're actually boring and there's nothing to add to the conversation because you're just a carbon copy of each other. And that in
Yeah.
itself isn't very exciting.
Yeah, and relationships should grow, right? So it's like you have to have room to grow. I mean, think
Yes.
about it like, it's like, does this top look good on me? Sure. No, it doesn't. It's awful. And if you walked out of the house and somebody said, what is she wearing?
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you tell me? Like, well, because, so it's like, it's just on a practical level, it doesn't make sense. And
Right.
yet, and yet we think when the oracle is showing me about that, it's like, it's the idea, the concept of, it's, you want to be honest, it's a trap,
Yeah.
right? It's a trap. And it's like, you not only are you trapping this person into thinking you're somebody you're not, but you're trapping yourself into a world where you're going to have to be that person, or
You
you're
can't
not
remember
gonna,
all those details. Right.
you can't keep it up.
And no, if it's not natural and it's not authentic and it's not your voice vibration, it's not going to be you. And I hear it so often from people that talk about past relationships, and they're like, we actually really didn't have that much in common. We just had a chemistry. And so with the chemistry, you get so caught up in those moments. And then later they're like, yeah, but I didn't really like hanging out with them because they never
Right.
let the other person be authentic. They just were there. And I think people look so often towards almost wanting to argue for a disagreement when it's not about arguing if we disagree or we agree. It's about, that's great because I'm not going to always agree with what you're doing. That doesn't mean I'm against you. And so
Yes.
to see that is about having a voice and really being able to truly have your voice, because so many times we're so used to our partner's opinions, thoughts, and views that we tend to cater, or we filter through, well, I know if I say this, they're going to react that way, so I'm not going to say it. But if you can't disagree with the person, then you're actually not being authentic at all. I mean, plain and simple. And I'm so glad that your oracle was very clear to bring that up right at the forefront.
Yes, absolutely. And that actually is a great segue for the number 2 tip, which is you always acquiesce to your partner's needs and desires. That's like, okay, well, how much fun is that going to be for anyone?
Right.
You know, and I have to say that I've known people that are in their 40s and 50s who, and I've worked with as clients, who come to me and they say that, and it's like, well, why don't you just, like, I would like to go to plays, so go to plays.
Right.
But he always has to do this on that day. So I go with him to go watch football games. I'm like, why can't he go watch the football game? You go to the play. Everybody's happy, and you still get to beat again. It's like we again. That one leads right to that one, right? The first one, the second one, which is that is what you're setting yourself up for.
Right.
If you're not capable of disagreeing without, like you said, coming into a huge blow up argument about it and coming to resolution, right? Like agree to disagree. Like, I don't like to watch football. I don't like to go to plays. Okay, great. That doesn't mean you can't be together. You know, I think it's healthy in a relationship that people have different interests. As long as, you know, there's commonality in other areas, it's okay for you to support someone else going out. And occasionally maybe you do go to the game, or occasionally he does go to a play. But it's like giving up the thing that you like just to continue to spend time with a person, or to be in there, you know, like you said, to not upset them. Like, is that kind of acquiescence is a belittling to your spirit and your soul.
Exactly.
It's saying, making you smaller and less important.
What it's doing.
Yeah. And so it's really dangerous in a relationship, because that kind of behavior starts to create a weakening of yourself, your spirit.
Right.
And therefore you're not the brilliant light they wanted in the first place.
Exactly.
Like
who did you originally fall for? Then you want to nurture that person. Otherwise, they totally shrink down. They get small, and it is interesting, because I hear that a lot from clients, that they lost themselves in their relationship, but truly, it's your responsibility. You know, if you make yourself so easy and you just roll over for your partner initially will be like, yeah, they're so easy to get along with. We do everything I like to do. They get bored. They realize it's not your authentic, and you're not really bringing anything exciting to the table. Because, you know, as I'm sure you've noticed, when you do something different from your husband and then you come back together, you have a new topic. If you did everything together, you would never have something new to talk about.
So true. I mean, your life becomes mundane. It becomes by rote. And there's excitement that as individuals, we need to fuel ourselves by what makes us happy. And so coming back refueled with like, wow, that was an amazing show, or it was a great game. The person's excited, and you get to share in their excitement versus feeling resentful that you sat there through the whole thing and weren't happy. It's like there's a place for that to really show up. Yeah.
Right. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is how many times that I heard from clients in their past relationship descriptions, and they would say things of kind of this like bitchy, irritated, well, I always had to do what he wanted, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, did you ever say you didn't want to? Well, no, but he should have known.
Oh, yeah.
That is not being authentic. Giving the person the tools and the voice and the information allows for them to choose to participate either way. But I can tell you, I'd much rather hang out with my girlfriends than with somebody that I'm with that doesn't want to be there. You know, like, go do the things you want to so that you can be there in the process. You are obviously making choices and changes and compromises, but it's important to know where the other person is coming from. And that is, God, that's huge.
Yeah. And, you know, as we're talking, the Oracle saying, you know, this is about honoring the individual. in the relationship. We have to honor that there are two people in a relationship. It's not a relationship of a unit. It's two people who are
Yes,
in relationship. So there has to be
exactly.
some honoring of the individuals and what they need and want and desire. And
Hmm.
if we fold ourselves into one or the other person, then that's where we're at risk of losing ourselves. And more importantly, we're at risk of ruining the relationship part of it. Because like the relationship is about meeting together, not
Yes.
about folding into each other. So
I like that. That's a great
yeah,
visual too, of just thinking, okay, we're here to meet, we're here to connect, but we're not here to be where we lose our own spine, our own voice, our own message. And when it's a healthy relationship, those qualities grow and we learn from each other, and there's new traits. Maybe you never went kayaking, but now your partner loves to kayak, so you do go kayaking because you're ready to explore. But if every time you go you're absolutely miserable, then you're better off saying, hey, can I just go do a picnic or go do some journaling while you're out kayaking? Like learning how to speak the voice, but also give yourself the chances.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's okay to experience what another person is, looking at it from a perspective of understanding and wanting to know what it is they like about a thing that they're doing. And so experiencing it, like you said, like going to the event, going to the activity and experiencing it kind of almost through their eyes,
Yes.
and still remaining true to yourself and saying, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Or this is awesome. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you can do that too. Sometimes you can go to do the event and go like, hey, it's just fun watching them have fun.
Right.
And that's enough too. It's
Hmm.
just when you are not having
Right.
fun and you have to pretend that you are, or you feel like no matter what, you couldn't even bring up the fact that it is not at all what you like. I mean, it's like a completely opposite of what you'd like to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that
That you
leads
start to have problems.
your next comment of being a secret agent. I love that phrase. Now, tell me what you're talking about, because there's so many ways to interpret that. So, what do you mean by you are a
I think that in relationships, like, so of course, there's this, I can tell a story myself, and you don't mind that, as an oracle, I hear voices, and I get divine downloads, and I see actually images for clients.
Mhm.
And so I would get guidance, and I have all my life. Well, I up until the last few years, I hadn't really brought that forward in my business or talked about it very much. And at one particular event that I was at, I was I was I was called out on it, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And so when I called my husband during the break of this weekend retreat, I said, you know how I hear voices and I get messages, and he said, and it was like the line was dead, and I thought, oh, it's
Oh,
cut out, like I've lost him on my cell phone. I'm like, can you hear me, babe? And he said, yeah, I hear you. I'm like, oh. And I go, so and he goes, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
oh, wow. All
We
those
have
years
been
together.
together for
Yeah.
20 years. And
Wow.
he said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I thought, there's me being a secret agent. Now,
Yes.
you know, it's a huge part of my life. It's a huge
Mhm.
part of what I do and who I am. And
Exactly.
and because of his upbringing, he was raised with a bunch of hippies, and he always complained about them. So when
Uh-huh.
I just took it upon myself to just fold away that little piece of myself, because I thought, well, I don't want him to think I'm one of them. And
Right.
so I
Right.
still use the
Your
tools.
category. Right.
Yes, I just decided not to really talk about it. And so, but the funny thing is, I thought I had,
Yeah.
but I'm like, what? So
Might
it
have.
was a really funny conversation. But the reality of it is, it really spoke to the fact that I hadn't, and he
Mhm.
didn't know, and he was
Right.
perfectly fine with it. But I know that there are other people that do the same thing. Like there's
Exactly.
something that's in their heart. Like, they're a writer, or they're a poet, or whatever, they have this inner dream or desire or some gift or talent that they
Right.
never share with anybody. And the
True.
person you're with should definitely be the person to know that and help support it, nurture it. Um, and that's the great thing. Of course, now he totally fully supports me, and it's super cute. It's a funny story because I'm like, how is that possible? And the reality of it is, out of that one moment, like this kind of goes back to that never disagreeing, right? So at that one moment, he said something about, what he thought were these crazy hippie people that he grew up with.
Yeah.
And how they were all this stuff. And I was like, oop, I better not tell him about the fact that I hear voices and I have a guide.
Exactly. Well, you
so
can get your response from that without even giving him the choice to participate.
Exactly. And so, yeah.
Right there. It was right on the surface. He, I'm sure he sensed things, and you probably brought it up here and there, but never pinpointed it to owning it.
Yeah.
So he didn't retain it because it wasn't something you really owned and dug into. And the thing is that we do that so often with people that we're close to. We just don't tell them this segment of ourselves because we just kind of want to go, oh, well, we'll just wait, or maybe they don't really like it, or that's not their thing. When really we just made a decision for them. So therefore, we're not even letting them respond authentically because we're taking a nugget from another time and declining that opportunity. What a great lesson. Wow.
Yeah. And so, and I think that happens. I think people become like, there's this whole side of you that they don't get to see.
Right.
And what a disservice to them and your relationship to hide that from them,
I think this is huge. And this is something that people really at this moment, as our listeners are listening, I want you guys to stop and think, how many times have I not laughed as loud? I didn't interact with the waiters staff or extra things. Like the other day I was taking my father to the doctors, and my sister was in the car too. And I know that if you just chat a little extra with the, people running the tickets, they remember you. So I said something when we came in, and then when we left, as I was leaving, I said something again, and he's like, hey, don't even worry about it. You don't have to pay for your parking. And my sister goes, that never would have happened to me. I would have never asked for it. And it's like, you know what? It made his day to be able to give that extra. And it's that receiving opportunity, but it was just being authentic, noticing someone. Too often, we worry what other people are going to think and say about our actions when really it actually was inspiring. And it got her all like, wow, hold on. I've never done that. I've never had somebody just gift it to me just because I was being nice to them. And it's like, we have to stop and think about that. Are we letting our partner actually see all your glory or not? Because I hear it all the time. I haven't shown that side of me yet to him. Or you go out like as a couple and you go out with another couple and your friend is going, who's this dude you're dating? Because you're so not you, or you're so cautious, or, oh, I can't say these things. Like, really think about the conversations you have and how many times you are filtering your words, your actions while you're on a date, because you think the other person might not want all of you, but why not? Because you're obviously awesome. So let them enjoy your awesomeness.
Well, you're not, like you said, you're not giving them a chance to decide if they want all of you. Like, you can't choose for them, and you're doing both of you a disservice by trying to cater or filter, as you said, what they get to see. Because that's like, you remember hearing the story about a woman who never, I think she's on Oprah. She never went, she never let her husband see her without makeup, ever. She would get up, did you hear? It was crazy. She would get up early before he went to work, put full makeup hair on, so he never saw her without makeup and hair. And I was like for a year, I mean, like 20 years or something. And she was like, how much time, effort, energy, first of all, right? This is being like practical about it. But the other piece of it is how unfortunate that you would think that the person who really loves you that much couldn't bear to see you without makeup and hair.
Exactly. Because they were already so into their own production that you pull back the layers. They didn't like the layers. I hear from clients a lot of times that they never even see their partner fully naked, like not just physically, but emotionally, but also physically when they're being sexual. They're not even allowing that person to truly get flesh to flesh and connect or cuddle or have that extra layer of connection because they're either hiding or they're shameful or they have something where so often a partner that really loves you can be so supportive in your healing process and your vulnerability, but we don't let the person get in. We don't give them that opening doorway, and that is huge.
Yeah, we become the secret agent, and we have all of this stuff that we could be giving and sharing, and growing together with that we've left aside.
Well, I think it's really important as everyone's listening right now. How many things are you not telling the person you're dating or people you've dated in the past? Like, what is it you're not sharing? I do think people vomit too much too soon. I'm a big one on that. Like, take a step back, people. Like, really decide, is that actually what your new person needs to hear yet? But there's a layer of just being you and being fun. Like, if you are somebody who has fun chatting with the bartender, let your person that you're with know that that's just what you like to do, but that doesn't mean you're cheating or there's a jealousy thing. It's just conversation. So it often, the other person's like, wow, I never would have done that, but that was actually really fun. You know, it gives them something else to see in you, but allowing that chance to just totally be you. It feels like sometimes people need to stop and write down, who are you when nobody is looking? Let's remember that part of ourselves.
Yeah. And I mean, ideally, that's the person you want the person to be in love with, right? It's like, hello. Like,
exactly
that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
I love this because, you know, when I first started this agency as a matchmaker, I remember being on a date with a gentleman, and it's what triggered me to decide to finally become a matchmaker. And he was asking so many questions, and he was all saying, well, I'm interviewing you. And I'm like, dude, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for the person to go to after my job. Mm-hmm. And that's such a profound moment that's always really stuck with me, because I feel like so often people are in job mode when they're dating. They're still like picking through their list and trying to break it all down and trying to see how this is going to, you know, what's their profit and loss. They want to know that the other person has the right income, the right time, the right health, the right this and that. When it's like, stop and say, God, I want to kiss that person. I want to be close to them. I want to have fun. Just be raw with some of it, and the rest will figure itself out. But too often we're so in that micromanaging, controlling situation where our authenticity isn't there. I mean, how many people go on a job interview and are totally authentic? I mean, how many really? Like, let's just be honest. If you're on a job interview, chances are you're kind of stretching your qualities a little bit. You're supposed to. But when you're dating, you got to be real enough that you can keep up with it, because that person's going to be needing to know more about you than a job that you punch in and punch out from.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then they want to know the real you. I mean, think about how the feeling of betrayal when they find out. You know,
exactly.
if you've gone fishing with them for 4 years and you're married now, and suddenly like, I can't take it one more time, and they're like, what are you talking? I thought we loved going. You know, it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, totally. It's like, what?
I love it.
Who are you? What happened? Yeah.
Exactly. What happened? It was what was going on. Nobody was noticing. So that's a huge one, which I love how your next point is, you're too quick to swallow your pride. A lot of swallowing going here, which is where I think stomach problems and breathing problems, because they're swallowing all this negativity. So what do we need to do to make sure that we don't jump the gun and just swallow our pride?
Well, I think it's important, and I think it goes back to the idea of the authenticity of who you are. Like, you should have the capacity, kind of even going back to number one, where if you have a difference of opinion and you stick to it, right?
Right.
So as we have disagreements, it's important that you check in with yourself as to whether or not it's worth giving up that position, right? So sometimes it could be simple, like a choice of like how you want to live. Like, some people like live in the city, some people live in the country, you know, like where you are. So that could be one thing. But if there's a value for you in doing something and you're giving it up to just assuage the other person,
right,
and you do it without contemplating it, like, that's why I say too quick, right? It's not like you're not. I mean, yeah, we're all going to have to swallow our pride occasionally. Yeah. You know, you're in a relationship, every once in a while, you're going to have to be the one to suck it up and say, you know, sorry, maybe I was a little too much over the top about that.
Yeah.
But there are other things that matter to you that you shouldn't just instantly go, oh, that's making them angry. Never mind.
Right. Exactly.
I'll just give up. And so to me, it's about, that's where you know you're not being authentic, because you're not allowing yourself to stand up for what you really believe. And what you really believe is what leads your life in the right direction, because that's where you're supposed to go.
Exactly.
So if you're not giving yourself permission to have some stake, in where you guys are going or what you're doing, based on the fact that it's going to upset that other person, their partner, and so therefore you're just not even going to try to stand up for yourself.
People do that a lot.
Yeah, then you're gonna create a false. I don't even think I was gonna say a false sense of security, but it's really more. You're gonna create a false sense of relationship.
Right.
I think that's
so huge.
Yeah, that person's not really going to be able to trust you, right? Because energetically, there's something off. Like you won't be really committed to whatever it is you guys choose if that's where you're coming from. Well, especially if you do it all the time.
You are so right on that, from the standpoint also that when I have found people that they're almost looking for their exit strategy. So what they do is they swallow their pride on comments. They don't overemphasize how they feel about certain things so that they can later use that as ammunition to go, well, actually, we really didn't have this in common, political, whatever it was. And they make it so that they know, because chances are that's probably what they're bitching to their girlfriends and their guy buddies and friends about, saying, I don't like she does this, so I don't really say anything. But that's their tally sheet that they're building up. So it's already creating walls without allowing that person. Plus, if you really have that much difference, then probably shouldn't be dating. So get the other person, free up yourself, and let's get the next party going.
That is so true. It's like, it really does talk to the fact that what are you afraid of? Because then you're not trying to be in that relationship. You're just trying to be in a relationship.
Exactly. Like, I just want to say I'm with somebody.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes. It's like, well, why not be in the relationship that really matters to you rather than just a relationship? Because
exactly.
That's what that's going to look like. And that is a non-winning proposition in all cases.
I agree.
You're just always doing that because you're never going to really feel comfortable or confident. Right. And who wants to be with someone who's not comfortable and confident? I mean, it's like, there's the other side of that, is the person you're with is really going to start to feel like you've got no backbone.
Well, and that's actually a huge point to bring up, because you hear people say, well, we've never argued. It's not about arguing. It's about really just saying where you're coming from, what you're thinking, or maybe your opinion is different, or maybe you misunderstood each other. And instead you allow one another a chance to learn from one another, but also you get stronger with what matters to you, what's important to you, what is your voice, what is your vibration, what are you excited about, what are you interested in. Letting that authentic side of you show up allows for all of your spiritual alignment, and it allows your partner to actually get the full meal deal with you, not just the appetizer of you. They actually get the whole course. And that's when you actually, from that point, can springboard up to grow. So you're really bringing in such an important part on authenticity for us to actually be our best selves, and then be blessed that it's in a relationship too.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were talking, the Oracle's thing, discourse is the room for growth. Like, that's where we grow, is by having discourse. Like, if you keep the same ideas, you will never grow. Right. Having someone else to grow against, to like goes challenges your thoughts and your ideas and your concepts, helps both of you grow. Doesn't mean you're gonna always agree. And like you said, when someone says to me, honestly, if I hear somebody say, "Oh, we never argue," I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, how boring, right, and how ineffective a relationship to never disagree with each other. It's like, exactly. So it's kind of like the old adage, well, then one of you is lying.
Well, that's exactly it. Maybe you're not swallowing your pride, but you get the too. So someone's not getting the fulfillment and nourishment of this relationship.
Yeah. Someone's not being authentic then, because that's not possible. So huge. And that's actually where, I love your flow of your comments is so important, because as you say, number 5 is you fear growing personally and professionally, or that
Yeah, that one I kept finding myself just kind of gasping of how many people I have worked with that have really been in relationships that are like, well, I don't, it doesn't work. So talk about this. This is a really big one. I want people to own themselves personally and professionally.
Oh yeah.
Attract a relationship that wants them to totally bloom.
It's really a tragedy. I don't mean to take too heavy a pen on it, but it's a
It is.
tragedy when people can't feel in a relationship that they have the other person's back and that the other person has their back, and that they can be not only the person that they showed up with in the beginning, but that they
Right.
can keep growing and moving. And I have had more and more clients recently who have said, we've gotten to a place in their conversations with me, and we get to the heart of the pain, and the pain is, what if I get too big?
Yeah.
What if I
Breaks my heart
outgrow?
to hear it
Yeah. What if
often.
I outgrow this person who I said I love?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they should be growing with you, right?
Right.
So we and a a good partner, using that term as loosely as I can, a good partner wants you to be your best.
Right.
Would want you to grow into more of who you are and to have that vitality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes with life and business. So sometimes it looks like people who find a new interest, and it takes them away from the normal behavior or patterns that their life has looked like so far.
Mm-hmm.
And so they either sneak around and do it, which is
Right.
crazy to me when I hear that, or they don't. Like, they really want to, but they're afraid to do it because the other person will think, well, you're changing and
Yeah.
you're not who I signed up to be with, so this isn't going to work. And so the fear
Exactly.
of growing personally um, stifles them and holds them back. But the reality of it is, anything that's alive must
Mm-hmm.
grow.
Yeah. That's
And if it doesn't, then it
yes.
stagnates and it dies. So you're
It just
choosing growth or stagnation and death.
ugh.
So that's why I think it is a tragedy. And I think that the same goes with business, especially when you have couples who have, let's say, kind of career-minded jobs where the title and the prestige of the
Right.
position is at a certain level, and perhaps either they come together at a similar level, and
Uh-huh.
then one of them gets a promotion, or is
Yes.
the potential to get a promotion. And what
Right.
you see there is that they're like, well, I'm not really going to go for it,
Mm-hmm.
because then I will be up here and they'll be back here, and then that will
Exactly.
cause friction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can come from the idea, the concept that either we have to be the same,
Right.
financially, or more often than not, I have to admit, it's women that feel like, if I make more than my husband or my partner,
Mm-hmm.
then I become a threat to them
Exactly.
and
Right.
their masculinity and their,
Yep.
self-pride and all of these things. And that, I think, culturally has, still unfortunately lingered, even though the reality of it is, um, women are capable of doing all the things men are, and vice versa, and all of that. But we still tend to want to um, nurture what we as women consider the fragile male ego, and
Exactly.
so we play that role that way.
But we
And
make it work
again,
when that's not
yeah,
even
exactly,
a lot of men are like, I'd love it if she made more. No problem.
yeah, yeah.
They're really good with it.
Yeah, and it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's the person who's pulling themselves back that's really doing it. It's not like the person
Right.
saying you can't do that. I'm not saying that doesn't happen anytime, but that's there's that concept of that
Mhm.
becomes about you not being you. If you
Exactly.
want to go for the president CEO position, and your partner is a manager at a lower level,
Hmm.
and your only reason for not doing it is because that they all still be where they are,
Right.
then that's when you're not being authentic.
Exactly. And then that's where resentment and frustration and, the whole goal really is that you become better together. And I've heard many stories of people that didn't want to lose weight because the other person was more comfortable with them a little overweight because they couldn't do as much, or they never got hit on that way. And so, often people lose weight and are trying to go to the gym, and the other person's sabotaging by buying all the wrong foods, doing things, and they're not able to speak it up. And I hear so often from people like, it didn't work because, we were on two different paths. And it's like, we don't necessarily have to both go to the gym, but we want to respect, if your partner's wanting to get healthier, then allow and encourage them to be healthier, go on a walk with them. It doesn't mean you have to go pump weights, but it's stopping and kind of letting them be prideful in what they are doing. And it's so important because it's the same thing, as you bring that in about the work, it's so huge, because that's the part too, with even dating, people forget to just go for a date and have fun. Like, I was reading something recently and they were commenting how the problem with dating is nobody takes the initiative, and it's because we've already pre-qualified so many things in our minds and so many ways that it's going to stop us, or this isn't going to work, or how do I need to show up for this person, that until somebody really knows who they are, they can't really show up for another relationship opportunity. And that's where everybody's getting cheated out of the awesomeness of that person, but also awesomeness in that relationship that could really bloom if they just kind of went all in and let themselves go and grow. I mean, you hear so many stories now of people that are like, yeah, I took care of the kids while, she went and did her corporate position, and we went vice versa. And it's not really about slowing down. It's about everybody working together can make that next leap. But too often there's just an intimidating factor when one's growing and one's not. But if you're not growing, you're going to become that stinky water in the pond. So,
yeah, true.
you gotta do some changes here. So it is important, as you're bringing this up, it's really making me think about how many people need to stop and really, again, find who they are, find out what their authentic message is, but also think, wow, if I'm with a partner who wants to grow, who wants a new job, wants to travel more, and I don't, why am I holding myself back? Why am I always saying no? Why am I the one that's kind of waiting for them to make up all the ideas and possibilities? What is it? And truthfully, it's often not really based to that relationship. It's probably another relationship in your past or your childhood, or a work environment that's been difficult. So this is a really good opportunity to stop and really think, how do I want to show up for this relationship? Even if you have screwed up the other ones, how are you going to show up authentically for this relationship, whether you're in one now or whether you are hoping to find someone soon?
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things to consider when you look at that is, as you look back on relationships, either in the past or, current perhaps missteps you've made, it's like I like to say always, there's no failure, only feedback.
Right? I love that. Okay, say that again.
No failure, only feedback.
See, that's huge. But that bold, you guys.
Yeah, what we are getting is acknowledgement about what works and what doesn't work. And so we have the capacity to move and grow based on recognizing that feedback and doing something about it. But that's where free will comes in, right? We also have the choice to do so. And so as you're saying, if someone is out there doing great things, rather than trying to pull them back down, ask yourself, well, what is it about what they're doing that's making me feel uncomfortable? Exactly. And where in my life am I not stepping up?
Yes.
And it may not be the same things. That person may want to go off and start exercising and whatnot. You may have always wanted to go and learn how to do pottery. I mean, it's like, but there's something in you that it's stirring up in, like, what is that self-care thing? What is that self-nurturing thing that you're not doing? Because that's what happens when we see someone else nurturing themselves in that way and standing in their own presence, their own personal space fully. It calls us out to do the same. Right. And we either push it away or we try to pull them back down.
Yeah, that's exactly question to ask yourself. Why is this triggering? And what could I do while they're doing that? So often I hear from people of just that, we always do this on Sundays, but I have this class I want to go to, but I really shouldn't go because Sundays are our day. Well, maybe, your partner can come up with something fun they want to do, or they might actually like having one of the Sundays on their own, and it's really okay.
Yeah, and that just goes back to number one, right? Never disagree. Well, disagree. Say this is not what I want to do, and
Right.
because that's where you find out really what you're really about. For
Exactly.
me, my entire focus of my business is to help people find their unique life purpose and
Mhm.
live by it.
Right.
So this is a huge topic for me about just being really who you're meant to be, showing up
Yeah.
exactly as you were supposed to be, because the world is looking for you, and so is your real partner. Your
Well,
real partner wants the real you. That's the truth.
yes, absolutely. And it's also important because if you're looking to be in a relationship, you're looking to enjoy what happens when two people come together. If you really want all of your own opinions and you don't want to talk with somebody and work with and compromise and discuss and bring in other thoughts and views, then just stay single. And so you have to look at this as a growing opportunity. We are designed to be with other people. We are a social being, and that is an important part of what we do. It is an important part of where we are at. It is all of those beautiful pieces together, and I just love it. I am so excited because you've triggered so much. I just feel like our whole audience listening right now is like, oh my gosh, how many times have I curtailed a laugh? I've curtailed a comment. I've, swallowed in a feeling for all that I think the other person wants of me. So we're almost out of time, and I just want so much more to share. So tell me, what are your last thoughts as we wrap up this time together?
Well, I think the one key that I would say for myself professionally and personally is that the more we can really stand in our own unique
Mm-hmm.
power, the more we attract that which supports it. So
Exactly.
whatever we're looking at, whether that is professionally or personally, we
Yes.
have to be who we are for other people to really recognize that and be attracted to it. And if
Right.
we're not, then we're either having discord right
Mm-hmm.
off the bat, or we're missing the people who really will be there for us in the long
Right.
run.
I think that is so important because so many people comment after a relationship, whether it's 6 months or 6 years or 26 years, they are so aware of how much they gave up to be with that person, yet the other person never said, give these things up. So it's really an important opportunity for us to go through these steps that you've brought up, and your oracle has added such energy to really think, okay, hold on. Am I not being me because of why? And let me dig into that. And then let me give someone a chance to really get to know me, and then let them decide if they are interested. And together we'll figure this out. Like, what a great gift to give one another, let alone when you're in your best, everybody else around you ripples in your goodness. So your authenticity is what we're craving.
Absolutely.
So good. Thank you so much, Leah, for everything you share with our group. You do such a good job, and so empowering and so incredibly inspiring, and really important for everyone to know the value and the benefits of being a part of their own love journey, their own process, and their own commitment to walking their truth, being authentic, and seeing where it takes you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yes, definitely. Well, we look forward to what you have next quarter.
All righty.